How you doing, everyone? This is Matthias Atva from Direct Dreadnought, your Dreadnought PS4 replay guy. Well, I'm recording this one on 5/19 Sunday. I do have to take a little bit of a trip to Connecticut for work and possibly New Hampshire later. They're both going to be really great. I love going to those states. They're really pretty this time of year, and New Hampshire has the added bonus of being a little cooler. So if you live in the South and the West or the Midwest, by now you guys are already in the 80s and 90s. We had our first day in New York in the 80s this year. So us northern folk are used to the winter and cooler temperatures. So sometimes taking a break to one of the more northern states like New Hampshire is really nice. The north of New Hampshire still has snow piles left over from plowing, if that gives you any indication or idea. They have nights still in the 30s and 40s, and their highs get into the 60s and 70s sometimes. But they still have the nice spring weather and a lot of greenery on the trees, and it's in the mountains, so it's very beautiful. But anyway, I'm going to phone in Monday's video. I want to keep up the pace. I like the Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. And I lied. I said I was going to do non-replay content this week, which I am. But I had a fantastic replay I just have to post. It's one of my best ever. And as I was processing it, I really wanted to put some extra oomph into it and give it the special treatment, so I'm probably going to release that on Friday. I think you guys will really like it. This video, though, is going to be more about the top 10 player vote, which is going well. Most people are getting into it. We've had 2 people that abstained. They're deciding not to vote, and considering how many people that have voted, that's pretty good. One of the people that hasn't voted, all their friends secretly voted anyway. And we had one group that tried to sway the vote for a particular player. And that player, we'll see if they get on the list to their own merit. But so far, the ploy is only 3 or 4 votes deep, so it's really not going anywhere. I did want to explain a little about the vote and why I chose it. A lot of people have been asking me to put restrictions upon restrictions on it. One being people that no longer play the game should not be eligible to be considered, and another one is player conduct. If they're not a nice person, they shouldn't be considered, and yada yada yada, so on. And I decided that my arbitrary views on what qualifies a good player should not reflect what everyone's views are, which is why I chose the format that I did. The reason I chose the guidelines I did are as follows. You get 3 votes to avoid the popularity contest, which was a concern for many people, but surprisingly, even to my shock and amazement, that really hasn't happened. Usually your first pick is going to be your popularity or friend vote, and then people tend to pick their second and third players as people they really respect, whether it be people that give you a hard time. I Smoke, his 3 votes is based entirely on people giving him a hard time, the hardest people to kill. And that's what I like, is everyone has a different view on the best player. And another reason for the 3 picks is some players tend to be obvious, and some people tend to pick them on popularity. I don't want to sway the vote by telling you who those people are. And then the second and third picks tend to be what you really think is a good player, even if they're not as popular or not as seemingly godlike or outstanding as the other. And those second and third picks are the ones that are adding up, which is really great. And that's what we're going to use to populate the rest of the list. If it was just one vote, we may have like 3 or 4 players that are out in front by a long shot, and then the rest of the vote would be kind of up in the air. And we're getting many, many different views. The only downside to this is that there's a neck and neck race between like a dozen players for the middle and lower tiers, so every person's vote is very important. One vote could mean the difference between spot 4 and spot 5. The other guidelines I have, not voting for me. I want to maintain neutrality in this. I didn't think I would make the top 10 list anyway, so it's no sweat off my back. Some people have told me that they would have voted for me if that was allowed, and that's really nice, but I do want to maintain neutrality, and it would be kind of lame if the person conducting the vote for this channel, for the requests from the viewers and players, somehow got one of the top slots. People would probably call foul, and I think my content speaks for itself, that I may not be the best player and certainly not the top 10 of all time, but I definitely know what I'm talking about when it comes to Dreadnought, and I'm definitely at least above average, and for me that's good enough. Making the content is its own reward, and playing and earning the respect of the players is more valuable to me than being the best. I'd rather be the player that everyone judges. You know, that guy is a tough guy, he knows what he's doing, so that's good enough for me. Before I even told the Nuclear Inferno's Dread Chat the rules, like 6 or 7 players said, me, I'm the best. So that's why I have guideline of not voting for yourself. And the alt account thing I put in as a safeguard. Already 2 players, one is a joke and one not, tried to slip alt accounts past me, and I caught it. It's not going to fly. No alt accounts. One player in particular, who is actually the player that abstained, ironically, has the most alt accounts. And I thought that this rule would be for them, mainly because, not maliciously like they would cheat, but that players would accidentally vote for the alt account. So when someone attempts to vote for the alt account, I would say, no, vote this name because that's the player's current real account. But as it turns out, it only popped up twice. It wasn't a big deal. The players changed their votes when they were caught, which is fine. You have 2 weeks to decide, and there's no drama or banning or anything like that. That's another thing, is there is no banning on this. There is no time limitation. I didn't want to exclude anyone arbitrarily, when really this vote is about what people think are the most memorable, best legendary players, and then a little about those players to memorialize them. And I was going to have a whole bunch of honorable mentions, a whole bunch of extra content as well when I wrap this up and finish the vote. Because if I could make a top 100 list, I would. If I could make a top 1,000 list, I would. But I thought 10 was a good start. And if this vote goes well, we can do polling for other categories like best ship, best player for each ship, votes on what builds you want me to try out, some crazy builds, or votes for best maps, or maybe even votes that might ring in the ears of the developers, like what you actually want in the game should they continue development, which we don't know if they will. But anyway, I thought I would spend a little time to describe the voting process, answer some questions about it. So far it's going well. Believe it or not, there are more players from the community boards voting than there are subscribers, and I had multiple subscribers ask for the vote. So if you're a subscriber and you haven't voted yet, go ahead, PM me. You already know the guidelines. As a review, you get 3 picks. They can be for anyone, even if they're not playing anymore, or even if people don't like them. Or if you just like them, they can be because of their outstanding prowess in a certain ship, or their overall prowess in several ships, their ability to build, or their ability to play, or just how good they are with the community, keeping the community together. Those are all, you set your own criteria for this. That's what makes this vote really sweet. You already know you can't vote for yourself. Of course, you can't vote for me, and you can't vote with or for an alternate account. So I think I explained that a little better for anyone that was wondering. We still have a week and a half to gather all the votes, and then I'll probably take a week to continue processing them and actually make the video, because I just don't want to tell people who the players are. I'd like to go into the player's bio a little, and I'd also like to make a list of honorable mentions. I already have 2 players that aren't getting enough votes, and I refuse to use any sort of corruption in this. I want this to be a pure 100% vote. So I'm probably going to give them honorable mentions because I think they're outstanding players, and I think that many players don't know who they are and don't pay attention to them. One is by far one of the best snipers in the game, and one is by far one of the best Corvette players in the game, and most people don't know who they are. So that's a shame, and if they don't make the list, that's fine. I will do honorable mentions for people that I think would have made the list had I made it arbitrarily, and I'm already finding out that a good half, if I had made the list without the vote, a good half of the players that I think should be on the list, most people don't think should be on the list or don't even know who they are. So that's really surprising, and that's the kind of thing I wanted to see. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up at about 12 minutes. So no replay or special content today because I'm packing for my trip, and it's a really sunny weekend, and I didn't spend much time making content, so sue me. But I have a really great, that's a lie, I actually was working on the video I'm going to put out Friday, but I didn't put too much work into it. And it's a Friday video anyway, because it's really, really good. You guys are going to love it. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. I may or may not have anything out for Wednesday. I'll try to, but if I'm out of state, it may not happen. And Friday, expect a really good replay and maybe some non-replay content this weekend. Well, that's it for me for now, and I'll see you soon in Sinley Bay.